To another episode of NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode, we are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, and I am joined by Coach Cam from Life in the Jungle podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely. Well, any day I get to talk about football is a good day. And, especially when you talk about the Bengals, it was a surprising season. I mean, it was a pretty magical season. Obviously didn't end how you thought it would, right?
Right.
And yeah. And when you kind of get into it, coming into the season, is this the most excited that you have as a fan base, and you as a as a fan have been for the Bengals going into this season?
Yes, absolutely. You're talking about the fan base here. They are just ready to go. We cannot wait for the season to start. I know this is the most excited we have been as a fan base, since I've been alive anyway. We sold out season tickets this season, which is a big deal for us. So, yeah, we're chopping at the bit. I hope the boys chopping at the bit because we're ready to cheer this team on. But, yeah, we're excited. We're ready to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking about that, then, I mean, there's Super Bowl size expectations for 2022. How can they maintain that level this year? I mean, what do you kind of see just right out of the gates, this year that they're going to need?
Well, obviously, what killed us last year, what ultimately hurt us in the Super Bowl and that reared its head was the offensive line. We did go out and try to shore that up with three starters. Ted Karras from the Patriots, Alex Cappa, the right guard, as well as Lyle Collins. So we really try to beef up the offensive line. The key is to protect Joe Burrow. We protect him. We can go as far as we need to go. But that's very important, early on. And also, the defense, obviously, with Jesse Bates and his situation, with him possibly not reporting to camp and things like that, there could be, something, looming over the defense. But, you still got a long way to go as far as that goes. But, yeah, those are the two things that, I'm looking forward to seeing early on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, and when you talk, we'll talk a little bit about some of those camp, storylines in a little bit. But I wanted to obviously, focus on Joe Burrow to begin with. I mean, he just, without that offensive line last year, he still, played, especially in the playoffs, at an MVP level. Does he in the regular season, this year? I mean, can he top that with like just the whole season, an MVP kind of year this year?
Yes, he possibly can. He can get better. That's the scary part. You got to think he started off slow, obviously, returning back from major knee surgery. This year he gets a full off season to get better, get stronger. And also like I said, the offensive line. He threw for 4,600 plus yards, and you turn around and maybe 51 sacks. If you drop that even down to about 28 to 30 sacks, you're talking about a potential another 500, something yards on top of that, which could be very scary when you look at it. So I think you're looking at an MVP type year for Joe Burrow, as long as he can stay upright, as long as the offensive line does what I think they can do.
And what makes him so good? I mean, obviously he has it, but what is it about him?
It's hard to describe, but it's just the type of moxie where he walks in the locker room and everybody believes that we can win, and that's as a fan, that's fun and comforting to watch. But obviously, as a football team, to know that you have a quarterback that no matter the circumstances can pull it out and get it done, that's huge. And so it's just something about the presence and the his leadership, the way he leads. He's authentic. He's himself, and I think that's what the players love as well.
That's I'm glad that you bring that up, authentic. And you think about some of the elite quarterbacks in this league, and one that obviously gets a lot of publicity, especially with the change this year, is Russell Wilson, and he just almost seems like he tries too hard, doesn't he?
Right. Right. I agree. it does look like it comes off that way. I'm not saying he's not a good leader, but yeah, it does come off a little phony at times. When Joe Burrow, he doesn't say much, but when he says something, everyone listens and tunes in.
Well, another reason to tune in for the Bengals this year is Jamar Chase, and when you look at him, I mean, just an amazing record-setting season. How does he, equal or top that for his encore season this year?
Oh man, he can eat. Like I said, Joe Burrow got sacked 51 times. That's a lot of opportunities that you don't get a chance to see who that ball could go to. Um, and Chase had some drops too, so he can sure up his hands and get better. And and like I said, with the improved offensive line, everybody numbers can go up. Including Jamar Chase. I don't see him slowing down. And the only way I see him slowing down is because maybe we don't get a chance to, or they don't get a chance to play the fourth quarter. Maybe we're, up so much there early in the game. But if they continue, they're not going to continue to play him one-on-one. But when he does get his opportunity, he's going to take advantage.
When you look at the rest of the wide receiver crew, what are you kind of needing from them this year to really help him continue to stay at that level?
I mean, you got guys like T. Higgins. He still caught for 1,100 plus yards. Or close to 1,100 yards. And this is a guy that missed games early in the season. Tyler Boyd is always a safety net, sure reliable. Third down target in the slot. Those guys are going to continue to perform well. And like I said, with the new offensive line, Joe Mixon is going to be able to run that ball. I know you'll probably get into him, but all that's going to help Jamar Chase, And last year, and I know I keep harping on the offensive line, but it's so huge because now you can run play action. Last year we couldn't even run play action because it took too long to develop, and our line wasn't good enough to hold up. But now you're able to utilize play action off of what Mixon is able to do. That opens up a whole nother set of plays and big play opportunities. So yeah, it's room to grow for the offense, and that's the scary part.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the Super Bowl and had, Joe Burrow had enough time, had Aaron Donald not gotten in there, he probably would have completed a touchdown pass, right?
Yep. Streaking down the sideline, Jamar Chase was wide open, and Ramsey had slipped and fell. That could have been a golden moment right there. It's a picture that other Bengal fans don't, can't erase out of our mind.
Yeah, well, when you look at 2022, it's definitely a possibility to do that. But I mean, you brought up Joe Mixon, and he's going to be huge. I mean, he was huge in the past. There've been so many expectations put on him, but injuries have played a huge part. And where do you see him? Is he among those elite running backs now in the NFL?
Yes, absolutely. When you talk about top five, top six type running backs, you throw Joe Mixon in there for sure. I know we don't get a chance to utilize him in the passing game as much with the weapons that we have, but he's a good pass catcher out the backfield. He can make you miss. He can run you over. And I think he has I want to say, he was up there at the top of, the list as far as, yards after contact. So,
Mhm.
Mixon has always been, steady. Even when we were bad, you can kind of bank on Joe Mixon getting yards and things like that. So, Joe Mixon, I'm glad that we're, able to see Joe Mixon on the national stage and him be able to get that respect as an elite running back because I definitely think he is. And that's just not me being biased. It's just I see the body of work that he's put in.
Well, yeah, and he is definitely that go to running back. But when you look at the rest of the running backs, I mean, what do you see there as well? I mean, do you like what Samaje Perine brings, and then also Chris Evans as well?
Yes, yes, yes. I would like to see more of Chris Evans this year. I think the upside is much, much more greater as him as far as a third down back or, a back to spell mixing over Samaje Pete Ryan. And that's not to diss him at all. He made some good plays. But I just think far as upside wise, Chris Evans is a guy that I would like to see more of, to spell Joe Mixon. he's a matchup nightmare, as well. You can split him out wide, put him in a slot, or whatever, and create mismatches. So yeah, I would like to see more Chris Evans this year in this offense.
Yeah, and you talk about upside. Obviously, goes right to the draft, and you brought up some of their focuses, and talk about some of the players here that are going to make a huge impact in 2022.
When you look at it, right away, Dax Hill obviously is going to get a chance to make an impact because he is so versatile. He can play, either safety spot, corner, slot. You can just throw him pretty much anywhere in the secondary. And he's very smart to, soak in those positions and be able to do them well. Also the second round pick, Cam Taylor-Britt. He's going to be, in a battle there at camp, trying to get that second corner spot opposite of Chidobe Awuzie. So that'll be very, very interesting as well.
Because I was gonna say, in Cincinnati, in the area, did they, for maybe a week or so after the Super Bowl, did they, just get rid of all apples in the grocery stores?
Yeah. I mean, just to bring him in, get some competition, and look. And I want to say one thing about Eli Apple. He gets beat up and in the media. But I can tell you this: he's not as bad as people seem. We got a chance to see him up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna get beat like any other maybe starting corner in the NFL. He's not gonna be a leader or anything like that, but for us anyway, Eli Apple made some big plays, man. And and you think about the Tyreek Hill stop in the AFC Championship game. You think about the playoff game in the divisional round against the Titans. Fourth quarter, he breaks that pass up that lands in Logan Wilson's arm. So Eli Apple's just not gonna give up that position easy. But Cam Taylor-Britt got a chance to make an impact.
So yeah, within the fan base, there's still a little bit of trust, at least, that Eli Apple can, be productive still.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It is. And I know that sounds crazy, but we do. We see him make big plays. We see him make mistakes, but we also see him make up for it and make big plays as well.
Yeah, it is interesting how players can get known for on the biggest stage, making those mistakes, and obviously that happened with the former 49er player as well, that missed that interception. That can happen, and Eli Apple definitely gets that as well.
Yep. And and it's just like you get that last thought of a player, And the last thing we saw was, them moving up and down the field using Cooper Kupp, against Eli Apple. But, it was kudos to them finding the right matchups and doing what they needed to do to pull it out.
Absolutely. And when you look at the rest of this draft class, I mean, are they going to, is it mostly depth in the rest of the draft class then?
Honestly, if you look at Zach Carter, defensive line, very versatile defensive lineman from Florida, he will get a chance. He will get an opportunity to get snaps. Obviously, we're pretty deep there, but he'll get an opportunity. And Cordell Volson, the one spot on the offensive line that you'll probably have a little battle there is left guard, and he fits that mold, so he will get a chance to play as well. But these guys are, when you're the Bengals, you got to draft guys in order to develop them for them to play down the line. So they're depth right now, but we are looking for them to play in the future.
And you talked about the defense. So who are some of the other key players that are going to need to step up in 2022 to kind of make that Super Bowl run again?
Obviously, a person that I think is one of the key defensive player, in this old defense is DJ Reader, the nose tackle. He was an absolute monster. Solidifies and stopping the run. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge, getting pressure. Logan Wilson, a big time player for us at linebacker. So those are, the three guys that I think that's going to really have to spearhead this defense, this year. Um, and obviously, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we'll talk about it later, obviously, but the Jesse Bates situation. So we're gonna have to see, um, what goes on there because he is a huge part of the defense. You can stick him in center field, and he's gonna cover sideline to sideline, and you were able to do a lot of stuff, up front because of that. So it'll be interesting to see because he's definitely a big part to what we do.
Well, let's kind of get into that now. I mean, what is the latest on the Jesse Bates kind of situation, and you know, is it going to be resolved anytime soon?
Right now he's not. He said, he's not going to report as that's reports. He's not going to report right now to camp. Um, I expect him back, of course, closer to week one. Nobody wants to get injured on franchise tag in the preseason or in training camp.
Hmm.
But right now, he doesn't plan to report or play under the franchise tag. But I don't think anyone who was a second round pick and all of a sudden get a chance to make 12.9 million is going to turn that down.
Right. Absolutely. Eh, Yeah. When you look at some of these things, you can't really fault players for making business decisions.
No, I'm not mad at him at all.
Yep. Yep. And when you look at this defense, then do you what part of the defense is the strength and what is the weakness? It has to be the secondary. That has to be really the weakness of the defense overall, right?
Right, and that's where we want to get
Hmm.
get better at. Obviously, we got very hot in the playoffs. In the secondary, it's not terrible, but it's something for sure that we can shore up there. Especially maybe a second corner spot. That's why we ended up drafting two safeties in a corner. We
Hmm.
wanted to kind of shore up and get younger there too. Some players that that you can develop, and that could be with you, for a long time. So it was very important for us to get some secondary there and get some youth in the secondary. But that was probably be the biggest weakness of the Bengals defense. The strength is just honestly just being around the ball, finding a way to create turnovers, very opportunistic, um, and we get pressure. We get pressure on the quarterback, Hendrickson, Hubbard, B.J. Hill, those guys up in the middle. It's very underrated. I mean, very underrated there that Bengal defensive line because they get pressure, and that's the strength.
So we talked about the Jesse Bates situation. We know that's going to be a training camp storyline. Going into this summer. And then also, some of the younger players. What are some other, storylines that you were watching as a Bengal fan base?
What I'm looking forward to is just some of the camp battles. You
Hmm.
know, some of the roster spots, how that goes, especially at the left guard spot. We really banking on Jackson Carman,
Hmm.
second round pick. Anytime you spend a premium pick on the guy, you want him to pan out and end up being a starter for you. He doesn't have to be an All Pro or a Pro Bowler, but you expect him to be a solid starter for you. So, looking forward to that. Obviously, I just want to see how they manage things. Last year was a long year, and I want to see, obviously because you want to stay healthy, you want to stay fresh. So I want to see how, they manage training camp, and and some of and another storyline um, to come out is I know it sounds, like not important, but fourth receiver.
Hmm.
Obviously, we had the kind of the cushion, I would say, of having Auden Tate as a decent fourth receiver. But if all of a sudden, what if a Higgins goes down for a few games, or a Boyd go down for a few games? Now we're kind of in limbo there without a fourth receiver. So just to be interesting there, just to see how some of the depth play out and how some of the roster spots turn out.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't know if the fan base is split on this or not. Some that I've talked to, this is an interesting question that I'm wondering. If you were to do the trust fall with head coach Zach Taylor, would you open your eyes at all? Would you look back? Do you trust him with this team?
I was hard on Zach Taylor. I was
Mm-hmm.
hard on him when he first came to the Bengals because I'm like, what is going on? But I mean, it's kind of hard not to trust him. You lead a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 30 plus years to the Super Bowl. And everybody would consider we're a year early,
Mm-hmm.
far as us in our window. So, um, I trust Zach Taylor. It's very, of course, he makes some questionable decisions like any coach. If it pans out, we loving him. If and if it don't work, we own him. That's just how it goes. But
Yeah.
um, I think you have to trust him. I think you have to trust him just the way he kind of guided that shit.
Yeah, I was surprised. I put a poll, a week or two ago about who the worst coach in the NFL was and why. Is it Mike McCarthy? Obviously, and I was surprised that someone said Zach Taylor, and for what he has done for the franchise. Obviously, a lot of it's on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, right?
Right.
But you have to have a coach also that's going to put the players in the best position. And as a Bear fan, I know that we had a coach, and obviously he's not there because he didn't put his players in the best position possible. But overall, like in-game, end-game decisions, you still trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, yeah, it was a couple instances last year where in game I was like, where I thought he took the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, but as we got down the stretch, he got better. He's getting better as a coach, and like he kind of said, I would like to think we could, improve as coaches and different things like that. So, um, like I said, even with some in-game things, I know week 17. Um, we got the ball back. The game was tied. We had got the ball back with 6 minutes left. We ate up that whole 6 minutes and kicked the field goal for a win. That's great clock management. So and that's showing his testament of him getting better as a head coach.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about quarterbacks earlier. I wanted to talk division quarterbacks. So when you look at this division, and we'll just, we don't know kind of, we don't have any resolution on the Deshaun Watson stuff, but we'll kind of add him as the starting quarterback of the Browns. So
Okay.
when you go with all those quarterbacks, if Deshaun Watson, is quarterback at any point, so how would you rank the four starters for the division for the AFC North?
I would rank them I would think Burrows is the best. Burrow is the best quarterback in the AFC North for me. Uh, Two, I would have to go with Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people dissing, say he can't, talk about the stuff he can't do. But one thing I know he can do is he can win.
Mm-hmm.
And before that team just got absolutely dismantled, and and he got injured. They were in the playoffs. They was in first place, and with nothing. So I don't know how many quarterbacks would be able to do that. Uh, like I said, could he improve his passing? Sure, but I got Lamar Jackson at 2. I got Deshaun Watson at 3. Obviously, him not playing in a while, kind of set him back for me. I got to see him play.
I was surprised that the NFL is on NFL Network that he was in the top 10. I mean, that just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people hold him in high regard, but
Mm-hmm.
football is a time and game, and you got to be out there to play it. And being out a year, that's a long time. So I just got to see it. And 4, obviously, I got Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, whoever decides to start for the Steelers.
As a Bengal fan, does it I don't know, warm your heart a little bit to see Pittsburgh a little bit down, or if they do take a dip this year?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. We whooped them up both times. Really, left the game, not in question. So it felt good to be on the other side of that. With the Steelers though, they're never like even their down years are 9-8 or they still sneak in the playoffs back door. Like the Steelers are just never just trash, and that's what I just want one year where the Steelers are like 5-12, and I'll be okay. But I have yet to see it.
Well,
Like
and
I gotta
that's
give them credit. They
what.
stay afloat somehow.
Well, it's the Mike Tomlin effect. I mean, I really think that's as a
Yeah,
Bears fan, I had hoped that he would have grown a little bit disenfranchised with the Steelers and somehow would have ended up with the Bears. Just his leadership connects with the players and he wins.
yeah. I don't like the Steelers at all, obviously. But Mike Tomlin, you just gotta respect him.
Mm-hmm.
I watched his interview on the Pivot podcast. It was just he just if I was a football player, I would love to play for him.
Mm-hmm. When you look at the rest of the AFC, I mean, obviously you're worried about the Buffalo Bills. What are some other teams that you're kind of most worried about? Aside from maybe the Buffalo Bills.
Outside the Buffalo Bills, the team that really concerns me is the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they're a team that if Josh McDaniels gets it right, that's my biggest question with them. Can Josh McDaniels get it right? If he gets it right this go around, they're special. They got Devontae Adams, they got Waller, Winfrey in the slot, they got a running back, they got a good running game. They got Max Crosby that can get pressure up front. They have a chance to be very good, and I think they're a sleeper team that nobody's really talking about. Everybody's kind of talking about the Chargers, and I don't want to go. I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to go there with them because I have a very unpopular opinion about the Chargers. But
no, go ahead. Let's do it.
But the Raiders worry me.
What's the unpopular opinion about the Chargers?
Chargers won't make the playoffs again.
Oh, see, that's yeah. And I actually have another unpopular opinion about that same division as well.
Yeah,
I think
the division is hard.
It's going to be hard, and I'm picking the Chiefs to be last in that division this year.
Ooh, now that could be possible. It's going to be about if you stay healthy. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different things that's going to determine this AFC West because it's going to be a fight.
It is, yeah, and you don't even know what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. I mean, he's got all the keys there. But when you look at the Bengals, I mean, you have to be kind of happy about just the opportunity that they have and just what they proved last year that they could do. Being ahead of the schedule, even as you talked about.
I mean, it's going to be hard. Obviously the odds are against you when you lose that, that first Super Bowl of you getting back. But I look at a lot of teams that normally lose in the Super Bowl or something like that. They never come back the same that following year. They always have a piece here gone, a piece there gone. But however, we have everybody coming back. Young, everybody coming back, and we've gotten better. Like all of a sudden, the Bengals just didn't get worse. We have an offensive line now. That's scary for any team in the NFL. That's scary. So I'm looking at it as okay. Everybody's trying to do basically what we did. If you don't have a quarterback, then let's try to get a quarterback. Oh, let's get a receiver that play with Carr in college. Let's try to team that up again. Let's try to the Bengals are honestly setting the standard that people are trying to catch up to, and it don't always work like that. I think this Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is special, and the Bengals will be contenders for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this has been a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate you coming on. And where can everyone find you again?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Coach CamC. You can follow us, Life in the Jungle on Twitter as well. That's Life in just the letter, the Jungle. Yeah, and you can also, if you have Facebook, you can follow us on there as well, and on Instagram, Life in the Jungle Podcast.
And when do you guys drop your episodes?
So we will start. We'll start back up next week with Training Camp Edition. We have Mondays at 7:30. We go on Facebook Live. We go on YouTube Live as well. So you can check us out.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone likes and subscribes and it continues to follow your podcast. Looking forward to connecting as the season goes along for sure.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Once again, this has been NFL Outdated, Cover 2 series on Cincinnati Bengals. Thanks again, Coach Cam.